Thanks, that's all for today.
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 Thank you, that's all for today.
Thanks, that's all for today.
Thanks, that's all for today.
Thanks, that's all for today.
Hello and welcome to the final episode of Thanks, That's All For Today, Season 2, with me, your host, Harriet Mullen. Can you hear that lovely hay fever in my voice? I'm not complaining because the sun is shining and it's my birthday tomorrow and I cannot wait. Still get so excited even after all these years of having a birthday. The novelty hasn't quite worn off yet. So today, obviously, is the final episode of Season 2, which I can't quite believe. I'd love to thank all my previous guests for this season, and don't worry, Season 3 will be back later in the year. But for now, here's my final episode with my lovely friend, singer, dancer, actor and teacher, the beautiful Sophie Kandola.
Oh gosh, she's got a mic.
You have to hold it up and then it sounds like a sports commentator or something.
Oh my, and running down the wing, we've got Sophie Kandola doing split leaps from the corner.
Drag runs.
And a death drop. Okay, here we go. Warm up straws I've written at the top of your notes. Sounds like we've done this podcast before. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Thanks, That's All for Today, a podcast hosted by me, Harriet Mullen. And today, with Prosecco and wine, I have my lovely friend with me, Sophie Kandola.
Cheers.
Cheers. Soon to not be Sophie Kandola.
No, continuing to be Sophie Kandola.
Previously and future Sophie Kandola. Sorry, Sophie.
That's all right.
Gosh, that was very old-fashioned of me. We're keeping the name?
We're keeping the name.
Because if I look you up on stage faves, I still want to see you there.
Exactly. No, in this industry, our name is our reputation, really. So keeping the name and rolling with it. But yes, getting married in 4 weeks.
How exciting. So this is probably my most up-to-date podcast because I stupidly, and I'm so sorry, Soph, I don't know how this happened, but our episode just didn't record or it just flew away. The file's corrupted. I just don't know where it went. So I went to edit Sophie's podcast. We've had a whole argument, haven't we, Sophie? We've had tears. Yeah. This is kind of make or break now, this re-record.
A tangent. Yeah. If she does it again, she'll never see me again.
So I'm actually going to save the best till last. And this is actually going to go up next week. So we're in kind of like current time and you've just had your hen do and it looks so beautiful.
Yes. And the sun is shining. That's how current we are. So
current situation.
Life is good.
Life is good. We've got Prosecco, wine, and I'm in my pajamas. So you know it's past 9 o'clock. Sophie, we've done this before. So if I could have the exact same answers, that would be amazing. Let me do your little introduction. Today, I've got the wonderful Sophie with me. I've actually written right next to her notes, didn't know. So let's see what I didn't know. Yes. Trained at the International School of Screen Acting short course. That was it. Yeah. Credits include both stage and screen and concerts and a dance captain credit here and there. Love that for you. I met Sophie during our time in Star Wars.
You said it so confidently.
Oh my God, I'm actually red. I'm bright red.
I loved that.
I was so convinced we met during our time on Star Wars. We didn't meet on Star Wars. That would be a great story, but we met during our time in Stardust, the Bollywood musical.
Slightly different.
Only slightly, though.
Probably some similar themes. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. You can see why I got confused. She's also played the iconic role of Coco in Fame. She's been in a fab film called Mad About the Boy, looking absolutely beaut on the screen. And I've written Teacher. I thought, I haven't seen her in a film called Teacher. She is a fab teacher. Welcome, Sophie Kandola.
Thanks for having me.
So lovely to see you. And I also have to throw in there as well, GSA graduate. I've had quite a few GSA graduates on the programme. Bit of a theme.
Your lives have crossed.
Yeah, it's so nice to see you.
It is so good to see you, looking gorge.
Oh, thanks. With my wet hair and my pyjamas.
Anyone can rock it. You can.
Thank you, Angel. Well, I thought you were great in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's one of my bigger credits, really.
Forgive me. So we've got Sophie, singer, actor, dancer of both stage, screen, concerts, as I mentioned earlier. She's a triple threat. I've danced with her, I've sung with her. I haven't acted with you yet, have I? As in, we haven't been in a scene together.
Yeah, scene together. Did we not have a scene together? No.
No.
We probably reenacted a bit backstage.
I did play you.
Yes, we did have a scene together then. Does that count?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to say, he finished me in the bath. Except I think I said he finished me off in the bath. Very different, very different meanings.
You gave it a different twist every night, didn't you?
I did. I was giving you intentions and all sorts. So Soph is the person that I text when I have an audition. I think I had a dream about us doing an audition together when I had an audition, my last audition actually in person in London. And I saw, I don't know how, I think you texted me or I saw on social media that you were at an audition as well. And I'd dreamt the night before that we were going to be in an audition together. And I thought, this is fate. We're going to be in the same one because it was a group one.
We'll both get the job.
We'll both get a job. We'll both be in it together. We only ever work with each other. But lo and behold, you were at the Umbrella Rooms and I was at Dance Attic.
Two iconic venues.
Yeah. And we both got the job, obviously. Obviously. No, you are that person that I will text and I will hope and pray that you're in the same audition.
Always, yeah. And then best case scenario is then that we go for coffee afterwards or something. Yeah. I really hope that happens soon.
Yeah, can that please happen?
Gods, please. That's mainly what we'd go for. Like the job would be okay, but the coffee and the catch up would be
wonderful. I would love that. I just love it to be more normal now, you know, just like it not just be weird being in a place. I don't know about you, but I feel like I now have social anxiety. I can't browse anymore.
Window shop.
No, those days are gone.
Yeah, in and out, get what you need, get out.
Definitely.
And also, even with auditions, like the waiting around's totally changed. You know, before I would always get to an audition because I live in Leicester and I travel down to London. I would always get a way earlier train, you know, just in case something goes wrong, blah, blah, blah. And then always find the venue, sit in a coffee shop around the corner. I had like a bit of a thing that I would always do. I know most of them have been self-tapes now, but I have had a few back in London, and not being able to go in anywhere. You can just now. But I was just like wandering the streets of London.
Yeah.
Like,
and things like getting changed now.
Yeah, you've got to go ready. And then also you've got to wear your mask like to go, and then you've probably all your makeup's come off like on the mask. And it's it's all a thing, isn't it? But I think things are slowly starting to get back in the room, which is good.
I would like to ask you, first of all, Sophie, how did you get into acting?
So my childhood was quite dance heavy, really, quite dance based. So I went to a place called DuPont Dance School, shout out, in Leicester from the age of 3. So really young, like started little baby ballet, baby tap, like super cute. And it's kind of got a really good reputation, and especially in Leicester, a lot of people who go there end up going on to do things professionally, but it is very dance based, what it was at the time. So I only really started doing musical theatre as I got more into my teenage years. I'd started having like private singing lessons and then a few group classes, but it was all very individual. Like I didn't really ever do them at the same time, which obviously is kind of key. Like I'd have dance classes, I'd have singing classes, I've had acting classes, but I wasn't in a full-blown musical till I was probably about 15. As in Hello Dolly. So not probably a show that I would be cast in now, but yeah. So I started doing more and more stuff like that. And then there was a really good theatre group called Leicester Theatre Group. They're still going now. And they kind of went, I'm going to say like headhunting, but they went around lots of dance schools in the area and kind of made this super group. So Jack Skelly was there, Mary Jean Caldwell's, like people who've gone on, lots of people who like working. And so then we started doing shows. So we did Les Mis, did Thoroughly Modern Millie, but this is all kind of late teenage really, but having done individual classes from the age of 3. So yeah, grew up all around it. Like, I look back on my childhood, I spent more time at my dance school than I did at home. 100%. I used to go like straight from school, get dropped off, be there all evening, come home. I used to find it so strange when my friends didn't have a hobby. So I'm like, how do you fill your time? Like, what do you do when you go home from school?
It's mad that you're happily doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday classes and doing school and maybe having a Saturday job and having a social life.
I'd be shattered now.
Yeah, you don't even think about it back then. But I think now as an adult, I think, how did I do all that?
How did I do that? And like, kids 100% have better social lives, don't they, than adults?
Oh my God, yeah. 2 parties a Saturday sometimes.
Yeah. You know it.
Now I would be like, oh, out every evening? No, thank you. No, thanks. So with drama school, obviously you went to the very prestigious GSA,
which obviously is a fantastic school known to produce some absolutely incredible talent. But would you say that it focuses on one discipline, or does it cover all 3, singing, dancing and acting?
It's very much, remember that it's called Guildford School of Acting. So it's very much like acting, which I love. And that's how I really strongly feel, is that acting has to be the base of everything. But it also is, the actual timetable is very evenly spread. So they want to churn out good all-round musical theatre people.
And haven't they? I feel like it's at the moment the year of GSA. You know, when you have those schools in the programmes that you see so many people of Mount View, Arts Ed, whatever. But at the moment, I do feel like there's quite a lot of GSA grads working.
Yeah, the training is fab. The training is fantastic and very solid, and like really sets you up to do, you know, safely 8 shows a week. That's what it's all about. They're all about making it safe 8 times a week, so that you're like a steady person to employ, which sounds a bit boring, but like that's how you get employed regularly, if you prove that you can, like, you know, safely do 8 shows a week. So yeah, but now I think there are some fab people who,
great ethos to have as a school to make you employable.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And with GSA, was that your top choice when you were auditioning? Did you audition for loads of schools in your year of auditioning, or was it like, no, I want to go to GSA from day one?
I'd be totally lying if I said that it was like always my dream to go there, but it wasn't. I always absolutely thought I'd wanted to go to Arts Ed. That was just like the place that me and my best friend Jack have mentioned. We would, like, you know, you kind of have this life plan set ahead of you. Like, we'll go to Arts Ed, almost like thinking you even had to audition. We're like, we'll go to Arts Ed, we'll live together, And then he got in and I was on the reserve list. So I was waiting to find out. And then I visited GSA and I just fell in love with Guildford and like the campus.
Oh, it is lovely.
Yeah, and like the vibe of it being slightly on a university campus without, obviously it's still separate. And also, you know, you're 20 minutes into London, but you're still in leafy Surrey, and it's just gorgeous, rather than, I don't know, I don't absolutely love the total hustle and bustle of London. I love to go in, but I love to come out again, sort of thing. So it was perfect for that. You could pop in and see a show, but then you could go home and just see the countryside again, which is kind of good for my mental health and everything. So having thought that I absolutely wanted to go to Arts Ed, it definitely worked out for the best. Because sometimes we'd kind of catch up, me and Jack, who was at Arts Ed, and I'd think, no, this has worked out well. Like when I'd hear about, you know, how the courses differed and stuff. So I think everything works like for a reason, doesn't it, in the end? But yeah, no, I didn't. And then the other place that I had an offer from that I was weighing up was Erdang, which obviously is more dancey generally. And I loved it. Like I got such a good vibe from there. And I think they're really like coming through. I feel like a lot of Erdang, I feel like I see a lot of people who was really solid.
I can think of a particular graduate actually that I know. I think that they are absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
All 3 disciplines, singing, dancing and acting. And I've got quite a few friends actually. Isaac, obviously, our lovely friend Isaac.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And also a few of Isaac's friends that he trained with, I work with in London. And I would say they're all brilliant triple threat performers.
Yeah, Isaac's lovely boyfriend.
I thought you were going to say Isaac is a lovely boyfriend. And I was like, oh, I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is. Yes, Isaac's boyfriend. Yes, obviously. Of course. I was like, Sophie, I didn't know you and Isaac had been together.
Well,
that's a lovely segue from last week's episode into yours.
Everything that happened on the set of Star Wars.
Oh God, I'm never going to live that down. Star Wars, excellent, excellent. So when you were auditioning, did you do 1 year, 2 years? What did you do?
I went straight from school, so that was my first year auditioning. So yeah, I think at the time maybe didn't realise how lucky that was, because then I went and there were people who were on their third or fourth year trying. And I think that really can, if people are listening who are like auditioning, I think often it can almost go in your favour that they can see that how much you want it, that you've come back another year. And especially if maybe they gave you something to work on and said, like, you know, if you come back next year but really work on your dance, and if you've gone away and you've really worked on your dance and they see that, then yeah, I know a few people who have gone on to have incredible careers who took a gap year, either out of choice or out of whatever, because you go and learn life skills and go and see the world. Or especially as an actor, I mean, less so as musical theatre, especially if you are a dancer. Obviously the career kind of gets shorter and shorter, especially as a dancer. But as a straight actor, they'd love you to have life experience and like things that you can draw on. So if anything, sometimes it's like a blessing in disguise, I think.
Lovely. So let's play a little game now. I'd like to play Audition Styles with you, Sophie. Now, we've obviously already played this, but it was back in Feb or March.
A lot has happened, honestly. Like, I can't remember.
I can't even. I've like ticked and crossed. Look what I'm working with. All of my scribbling outs.
Oh, it's neat though. It's colour coordinated.
Of course, it's pink. What other colour would it be? Let's play Audition Styles. So you know how this works. You just pick your favourite one.
Yeah.
Quick fire.
I'm probably going to give different answers to last time because I'm ever changing.
Sophie, I did ask you to say the exact same answers, the exact same diction. Please pause in the same place as you did before. Quick one. I know you've been on stage and screen. I always say to you, I mean, you're so beautiful anyway, but oh my gosh, I love watching you on screen. Screen versus theatre.
Most of my screen auditions have been TV. I haven't had many film auditions. But I think between theatre and screen, controversially going to have to go for screen. I've had one recently and they really kind of summed up the difference between the two in that, I don't know. I mean, this is, again, a really sweeping generalisation, and it's also no fault of the casting director because this is just the deal, is that often if you're being seen for the ensemble or whatever, there's obviously maybe 50 girls in a room and you've just got to do what you can do. And if you're right, that's it. That is the deal. If you're there, you're right for it, great. But for screen, often it will be one-on-one with the director. You will get, I'm just thinking this one that I had the other day, I reworked the scene 8 times. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like with the director giving different things. So even if you then don't get the job, you feel like you've really learned and like you've had so much more one-on-one time. Rather than obviously musical theatre, you've got to go as the package that they want. You've got to be ready to go, which is just a different like discipline really. And neither's like,
because you've got a bigger budget with screen and so they can sort of work with you, or do you think it's because they've got less rounds and so they have to see what you can do in one audition rather than in musical theatre there could be
so many rounds.
Someone the other day and they had 12 rounds for something, and so I
mean, surely that's unnecessary. I just can't ever see how that's necessary to. But anyway,
my nerves couldn't take 12 rounds.
Oh my god, I don't think my bank balance could.
I would have to be like, I'm out, like SAS. Like I'd have to give my badge in, be like, I'm out.
I'm out, count me out. But that after like 11 in, you've got to stick it out. But yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I guess it is budget, but then also in terms of cast size, you've got to see that many people if you need an ensemble of 12 or whatever. Whereas if you're only casting one part for a TV thing, then you can give more time. So like I say, it's not like a bad thing and a good, I think it is literally, that is just the deal. But I feel like sometimes you walk away feeling like you've got more out of a screen audition. But then again, if you're counting commercials in screen auditions, that is not the case. It's a walk in 10 seconds, show us your hands and walk out, which again is, everyone just knows that is how it is. And you've got to be in it to win it, because that's also kind of where the money is. Also, you want to get some screen time. Like, it's all So yeah, they're very different, but
They are.
I think I'd have to go with screen.
Lovely. And in terms of material, do you prefer to take your own material that you've chosen yourself, or material from the show or play or film or what have you?
I would always rather just do the material from the thing.
Same.
Because why not? Like, it almost feels, I get why they do it as well, because otherwise they're going to have to sit for days and days and days and listen to the same song over and over again, which I get is probably painful. But I also think that it's the quickest way of seeing if the person can do the job or not. Like, you might have a song that you've perfected kind of thing, you know what I mean? But actually the song from the show might be, I don't know, go to a different note or do a different thing. And they're trying to guess whether you are right for it. Whereas if you just do the material, then it's just instant to see if you're right for it or not. I think it makes sense too. And I wish there was more of that, really. And also then we wouldn't spend hours picking a song.
Don't look at my face. I'm just like, no, I just want the material.
Yeah.
Or maybe a list to choose from. Because I think sometimes half the battle is choosing the song, and like you say, I mean, the auditions actually where I've done the prepared material have been my most successful, and I just think that's because I'm from the music world rather than musical theatre world. So maybe my song choice might suit me, but not be right for the character.
Yeah. So often now, isn't it? It's pop and rock songs. So actually don't even ever end up singing musical theatre songs. But yeah, I agree. I think material.
Definitely. And would you go to an open?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done many in my time.
What's been your favourite one? Have you ever had anyone that you're like, that one went really well? Or are they always...
I've had such a range of success. I've done like Stand in the Rain for 8 hours, and they've cut it down from... They were asking for the full song, and then like word got down the line that they were running so late because they didn't anticipate how many people would turn up, that it was now like 16 bars or something, not even 32. And then by the time I went in, and we weren't even like, we'd gone early, do you know, because you hear that you think you need to go early. So we were there from like 7 a.m, but you're already number 500 in the queue or something. People have like literally got tents and have camped out. And you go in and they literally heard 8 bars or something, and then that's it, and you just think I've stood in the rain and caught pneumonia. But then to the complete extreme of that, the first ever open that I went to, that was my first ever audition, was when they did the opens for Aladdin, and that was my 3rd year. So I might have even been in 2nd year, I think. So I like snuck out. We weren't allowed to go, but me and another girl went, because we were not allowed to leave GSA early or anything to go and do work. So, but we went in, queued up and did all that. Then I didn't end up getting it, but I had like multiple rounds.
Oh, amazing.
I had 3 or 4 at least rounds after the open, and then everywhere in between those scales as well. So sometimes they feel like a publicity stunt. I feel they've got the cameras there, they've got everything to be like
my worst nightmare. Even though I love to have a chat and I love taking pictures, but there's something about cameras at an audition does not work for me.
No, it's like already stressful enough.
I don't know why I've done 2 television competitions, Sophie. I don't really know.
Yes, oh my god, yeah. You so have.
Don't know why. Do you prefer, obviously you are a brilliant dancer and singer, what's your preference? If I was to say to you tomorrow the first round is a dance call or a singing call, which one would you be more relieved to hear was first?
This has changed throughout my life, basically, or since I've graduated, but I think now, as of right now, I would say singing round first. Also probably purely because with the pandemic, singing you can practice at home, but we've not really been able to, like, there's only so much dancing in your living room on Zoom really that you can do. So singing's been a bit easier to sort of keep up with a little bit, but it's tricky, isn't it, between the two? I've really found that the way an audition process, how you maybe have a round and then there's a cut, doesn't really bode well if you are a triple threat, because you don't get to show yourself. Whereas I think it works if you've got one incredible one out of the 3 that you can like absolutely smash a singing round every single time. Whereas I feel like growing up, I was always told that you need to be like the same as at all three. Like you've got to be consistent. You've got to be a triple threat throughout the three. So that's what I really tried to be. And I hope that's kind of what I am, where you're like safe across the board, like good, just like good across the board. But sometimes that can mean that you're cut from the first round, but you never got to show them that you're good at the others as well because you're cut early, if that makes sense. So the auditions that I've been the most successful in, like for example, I did the Tour of Fame, just by chance of how my time slot fell, I was the last one to sing. So I got to sing and they did acting in the first round, which is so rare.
Oh, wow.
Managed to get through that, but then it was straight into, I was the last person of that, of like, say it was 12 o'clock or something, and then it was straight into the dance round. So in the space of literally 45 minutes, they got to see me sing, dance and act.
Wow.
And do you know what I mean? And that's rare, isn't it? That you get to show, and that's the job that I got, because you feel like you got to show them everything you've got to offer.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously, if they do a cut early, then you're like, but I promise I can do the others a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I find but then also, I mean, there's just no budget and no time to see everyone do everything. So I totally understand like why it's like that. But obviously, it can be frustrating at times. But yeah.
So either for you, you're happy with either?
Yeah, I'd probably go singing though right now.
Singing right now. Excellent. Do you prefer to, because obviously I know you've worked for Physical, who were the production company for Stardust, not Star Wars. And I know you've worked with them before. Do you prefer to perform or rehearse or audition, whichever one, to a panel that you know or strangers?
A panel that I know, I think, because hopefully, fingers crossed, unless you've done something to annoy them, but hopefully you've got a good rapport with them already, so you know, and maybe even like, I don't know, an in joke or something that can like, or I'm bad for that though, like trying to make small talk jokes in auditions, and often that's not the best way. But if you know you've got something in common that you can quickly break the ice with, then it just puts everyone at ease. Whereas if you don't know what you're going into, it just adds to the stressfulness of the situation.
And your success rate with being re-employed is very high. And that just goes to show that people absolutely love working with you. You know, it shows that you're reliable, that you are great to work with, that you're a nice person, etc. Isn't that just
I think being a nice person actually, ends up being probably the most important of all of those, ends up being important of all of those things. Because like everyone's talented, right? There's like so many good, I'm always baffled by like how incredible people are. But I think people want to work with nice people, hopefully.
Especially
so I mean, I've been exactly, if you've got to share a hotel room or something. But I've been so lucky with Physical and with Samir, and they're actually a Leicester based company, so that was kind of again something we had to chat about early on. And I've been really lucky with them. They sort of took me under their wing a little bit, and I'm super grateful to them.
Because you've done Bring on the Bollywood, Stardust, and Mad About the Boy with them, haven't you? Yeah,
so Mad About the Boy was at Bring on the Bollywood, the first round was kind of first round for that, but they were also keeping an eye out because they had this Mad About the Boy thing coming up as well. So it was like a 2-in-1. So I ended up getting Mad About the Boy, shooting that whilst we were still doing the audition process for Bring on the Bollywood. Wow. So then again, because you've then made that connection, either consciously or subconsciously, you know, they're looking out for you in the process. So I loved that. And then obviously Robbie, who writes all the music, he was in Mad About the Boy as well. So you kind of make a little family.
And what a lovely family it is. I love working with Physical. So lovely. One of my favourite jobs ever. Would you prefer, Sophie, in an audition, 16 bars or a full song?
Oh, tricky. I think probably the full song, only purely because it's so tricky to show any kind of character arc in such a small amount of time. Yeah. And that can often be, and then it's tricky not to be like, look at all the vocal tricks I can do in this really short space of time. Whereas if you've got the space of the song, you can prioritize the storytelling, I think. Do you know what I mean? Rather than like, here's everything I can do really quickly. Yeah. So I guess the whole song, or at least I think verse and chorus at least. Yeah. Kind of like a solid, chunk. But the really short cuts, it's just like, what can you show, surely?
I know sometimes 16 bars is literally a few sentences.
Also, it's weird because I can do some very basic reading of music, but obviously to do with the time signature, 16 bars varies in length, right? Is that right? You know what I mean? Like it can either be a very quick 16 bars, or if there's so sometimes I'm literally counting the bars out on the sheet music, like, oh God, it's 2 sentences.
I know I am too. And then if there's a pause in the music, I'm like, that's a bar. That is a bar.
Yeah, that's
sacrificed.
Cross it out.
Cut. Would you prefer to go to an audition with someone, obviously you've got lots of friends in the industry. Would you prefer to go to an audition with a friend or on your own?
I mean, I'd like to go with you.
I'd like to go with you as well.
But I think actually, if I'm being trying to be sensible, I'd probably rather go on my own because I can be a chatty Cathy. So we'd be chatting away beforehand.
It's not audition together.
Yeah. We'd either miss our time slot or not warm up or something because I'd be like, oh my God, I've not seen you for ages, and get carried away. And I definitely have done that in the past, to be fair. Because it's the classic thing. You always bump into someone don't you? Even if it's someone because they also trained at so-and-so 2 years above you. It's always some vague kind of, it's a small industry really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think for me to have my head switched on and really focus, I've got to go on my own.
I do that over familiar thing because I'm nervous. I will see someone that I've maybe met once, or I've done it before where I've seen someone in a show or on Instagram and I've thought I've known them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hi babe, how are you? And they're like, don't know who you are, but you can see in their face.
I did this once so there was this girl who was, I won't name her now, but there was this girl who was in my third year. When you're at drama school, you idolise the third years. Yeah. I think it had that thing happens every time. And there was this girl who was in my third year, and my friends all laugh because I used to think she was and she's incredible. And I was once on tour, must have been when we were on Bollywood, and I saw her boyfriend. This is so not even connected. I saw her boyfriend who I'd seen via Instagram at the theatre, and I stopped him to chat to him, and he was like, oh, I'll tell her that I've seen you. And I was thinking, she won't know who I am. And really over familiar. I'd been like, how is she? He was like, I'll ring her now and tell her we're together. No, don't worry about it. Don't.
Oh, so that's so
no.
That's so cute. Is she still in the industry?
She's in a soap. Yeah, she's doing really well.
It's not Amanda Clapham, but we are friends with her, everybody.
Love you, Amanda.
We love you, Mandem. We love you, Amanda. Last question of this game. Do you prefer to perform a script or a monologue in an audition?
Oh my God, a script. I think sometimes because I teach, a lot of students will say, oh, have you got any suggestions of monologues? And I think not really. You need monologues to audition to get into drama school. And then I've not really done many since. I don't know. I
think I've done 2.
Yeah.
I think I've done 2 since I graduated.
And obviously sometimes an audition script that they give you might be quite heavily that character, because obviously then that's the piece they've chosen because that's heavily them. But I mean, that's same, I suppose, as in a musical where it's bring the material or bring a song that you pick. For an acting thing, if they just say bring a monologue, you spend hours trying to find a monologue, just send the script. But 100%, that's the easiest one so far. 100% script.
Amazing. I would like you to tell us about a time where you were on the panel and you witnessed something happen during an audition to an auditionee.
Oh, no.
Please.
He might be listening.
Should we not mention him?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I'm sure he tells it.
Okay.
So
let's tell the story.
Settle in, set the scene. Yeah. So at GSA, or at every drama school, when they do the auditions for each new intake, they'll often have a few student demonstrators or whatever who stand at the front. So you've got someone to copy.
The prefects.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, the goody two shoes, probably more like. I a few times was that I was that person at GSA, and it was the dance round, and this group of super eager 17-year-olds or whatever were doing step kicks from the corner. You classic step click.
Oh,
Imagine if that was the audition.
Tell you what, I would have got into GSA if I just had to step click, because I am
You can
great.
sell it.
I am great at step click.
Yes, the technical element of a step. No, this is a step kick.
Quite different.
And this, yeah. This poor boy was doing step kicks on the corner, and in what seemed like slow motion, his underneath leg like buckled underneath him, and he dislocated his knee. And like literally, right, it's a bit graphic, but like imagine the leg, and then his knee was literally
Away.
Away from it, like on a different planet to the leg. And I saw it happen, and obviously he was he's in pain more than anything. Ambulance came, he got taken to the A&E, like the audition got cancelled. Well, I had to go and take these other poor auditionees who were like kind of traumatized out into the foyer and like do a really random Q&A that I just came up with on the spot. And bless him, like they like gave him gas and air, like the paramedics, and he like started going a bit woozy, and he was like being like, I really want to come to this school. Like he was bless him.
Poor guy.
So traumatic.
And did he get to audition again?
So yeah, they let him audition again, and then he got cut in the first round.
Oh God, poor love.
Awful.
Not the place for him then.
Talk about like baptism of fire into the industry of how brutal it is.
Wow.
But that has stuck with me, like the vision of his knee basically like on the floor.
Okay, thanks. That's all for today. I can't take any more.
I know, bless him. That like you should get him on this podcast because
if you're listening. If you're listening,
I'm afraid I can't remember your name, but
knee boy, if you're listening, get in contact. I was going to give out my number. That's okay.
Hook her up.
Sophie, what about you? Do you have a memorable, hopefully no dangerous knee stories? Knees as well, they're so fragile.
Oh, no.
Do you have like a favourite audition? Funny, hilarious, wonderful, stressful, scary, whatever you like, your like number one audition story?
The most, I mean, I'm sure you won't mind me saying this because we'd laugh about this now, but the most on the spot panic I've ever felt is with Samir from Physical. He said to me, I didn't realise, I can't remember which one this would have been for, but that the character needed to have an Indian accent. Oh, so it was Bring on the Bollywood. Probably should have guessed that maybe I needed to practice an Indian accent, but I really hadn't. And I'd never done an Indian accent before. And it's just so hard not to be like on that stereotypical / offensive line, especially with an Indian accent. And he said, okay, can you do that script again in an Indian accent? And I was the shit, you know, when like you the ground to swallow you up. So I sort of did this just awful kind of Simpsons, just terrible. And I remember his face being like, oh God. And I just thought, I think I said like, I'll practice.
Oh.
But yeah, that's like the most I've been like, oh my God. But yeah, all worked out okay. Hi,
you got the job, babe. So
yeah. And I really did have to work on it, and I'm still working on it to this day. But in terms of like best vibe and like most memorable for it being just a fab audition, probably was the final audition for Fame. You know, I said to you how the recall I got to do all three really quickly, and I was just in a good mood because I felt like the first bit went well. And then, you know, when you feel like I want to work for this company because the people behind the panel just seem like they've got good vibes. The people in the room who you clock, don't you, people who you think they're probably going to get the job. They were, and there's this guy called Trey, I think I mentioned him before. He was the kind of person who was just hyping. He was like hype man, like he was hyping everyone up to the point of where some people might think it was a bit too much, but he was like, you know, when they
I love
it when they were like bringing people forward in groups.
Yeah,
people were like, come on guys, like really kind of.
Yeah, see, I always do that, but I feel like sometimes people are like, that is fake, but I'm genuinely like so scared that I'm like, come on. you got to do this, otherwise I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And also that's a thing that like cheeky guys can get away with quite well.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
sometimes often I feel like women get a bit of a bad rep, like you say, maybe it could be fake. Whereas if you're a bit of a cheeky chappy, it's that classic thing, isn't it?
Maybe that's what I need to be more of, Sophie.
Yeah,
More of a cheeky chappy. We're like
cheeky chappy. What even that means, but yeah, Trey. You want to have like a Trey in your audition because he's just, and he ended up getting it, and I was like, that's a classic thing as well. Of I think he got the job. I mean, he's really talented, but also because you knew he was going to be so much fun to be on tour with.
Yeah.
And the creatives were coming on tour with us as well, so it was
brilliant.
They were like, he seems like fun. He's just as good as everybody else, so let's give him the job. Like everyone's talented, so let's give him the job.
It's funny you say that because I remember doing my audition for Stardust, and absolutely when my love and hero worship for Lena Patel started. But I just remember absolutely loving Robbie and Sam and Lena. But also I remember at the end of my dance call, I turned around and Chris was at the door, and he sort of said a little hello to me, and I went out, and it was honestly, genuinely, I'd met him downstairs, just like, are you auditioning? And then it was like a familiar face at the end of an audition. And I just remember being like, I just had this feeling he would get it. He would get his part. And I had no idea. I'd got whiplash. I was preoccupied with trying to collect my million pieces of jewelry that I had shed during the dance call. But I remember seeing him and being like, I hope we get to do a show together. You just sometimes, and we weren't even in the same audition.
And then it was the first time you saw him on the first day of rehearsals.
Yeah.
I remember that happened actually with my audition for GSA. There's this guy, Aaron, who was in our year. He was in my audition, and he's got the most incredible voice. And I went home, like back to Leicester after this audition. I was like, I've literally just heard the best singing I've ever heard in my life. Like this guy telling everyone about, like, oh my God, this guy was singing this song. And then the day we were moving into our halls of residence, his mum and dad pulled up their car like right next to us, and he got his bags out. I was like, oh my God, you're the guy. And he ended up being there. We went to,
Oh, amazing.
It's funny though, you see,
I love drama school auditions for making friends, because I do feel like you've got that sort of non-cynical view of the industry. There's a lot of parents involved, you know, your parents drop you off and things like that. And I remember meeting a girl at Royal Welsh. We sat by each other, and then I bumped into her in the Cheltenham Waitrose, and it turns out we were both from Cheltenham, and it was just bizarre, and we became friends. I don't know whether maybe it was just me that I just wasn't, I'm not very competitive, but I was just sort of like, oh, it's like school. I didn't see it as like, you're my competition. I just thought, oh, you know, like
there's more people who like what I like.
Well, to be honest, because at my school I was kind of like the only one that liked to do, you know, wanted to do drama as a career. And I think sometimes you can go to those auditions and just find everybody is like-minded and, you know, like
totally. That's what I find amazing about, I remember at drama school, where you can be, you know, one of the best in your town or your village or something, or like that's all you've ever known. So you kind of, and then you go to drama school and suddenly you're in a room and every person is best from their town, and suddenly you're all in the same room. You're like, oh wait, this is cool. But I remember feeling like that, but like, God, these guys are good.
I still find it now, you know, when I listen to people in auditions, I'm like, how are you not on the West End?
And there's so like I always think there's just no rhyme and reason to this industry. Like why those people did, it's just sliding doors moments or being at the right place, all those things. There's so many people who, I always think there's just so many talented people.
And I can never guess. I can never guess. The only one I think that I totally guessed was Cara for Scylla. I could have called it from day one. I could have called it. But I feel like I go to auditions sometimes and I'm like, I think somebody's going to get it, and then they get cut, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, you've got it wrong.
Cut, and I'm like, no.
Do you know, this is another case of me maybe not being focused enough, but at a dance audition especially, you know how the panel might have trying to figure out what their system is with moving CVs around? Yeah. You know, when they're like, you like think, okay, they've moved them over there, maybe the cut pile, and and then it's totally wrong. The pile you thought were the cut pile, they're the ones who've made it through. I think I'm really like quite interested in the casting process and kind of that side of the panel. So I always kind of have got a little one eye out to see what they're looking for, and interesting to see who gets through or whatever.
Would you go into casting ever? Is that something that interests you?
I am really interested in it. no idea really how you sort of, whether it would ever make that trend. I think probably long-term teaching's what I'll be doing, if I ever stop, or like, eventually, whatever, wherever life takes us. But I've always been really interested in the casting process, and also from my point of view of wanting to have much more diversity and representation within casting, and like you need diversity behind the casting panel first and foremost to then make those changes. It's all well and good sort of like slowly but surely making the changes, but actually you need the people in the room.
Yeah, of course. Definitely making those executive decisions.
Exactly, because if you're aware of it, you're sort of actively making those choices. And there are people doing fab work, but it's always like a slog. And it's like one step, my new favourite Olivia Rodrigo song, 1 step forward, 3 steps back. But yeah, that is sometimes what it feels like. I feel like, oh, there's a casting announcement and it's so positive and there's like, so diverse. And then today there's been another, Joseph and his amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, literally set in Egypt. None of these people would have been white. And it's an entirely white cast again and again and again. You're casting a pharaoh of Egypt and it's a middle-aged white man. Like, there's just... But until people bring it up... You just don't question it, because all you've ever seen is Philip Schofield play Joe. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And also, I think a lot of people's argument is like, but it should be the best person for the job. But you have no idea if it was the best person for the job, because the people of underrepresented minorities or whatever are not even in the room to show if they're the best person or not. So, it's just about fair, like let us be in the room and then pick the best person for the job.
Definitely.
But I know for certain I've been in plenty of auditions where I've looked around and I've thought I've been brought in so that they can say we saw some not white people. 100%. Your lineup of this season is actually like literally the first time I've ever seen more than one brown face on a and it's just amazing. Like, until you see it, you don't see yourself represented. That's me talking as a mixed race person, so I know I have some privileges of like passing as, whatever that term is, passing as white for some things. But I've been literally told to my face in some auditions that I'm this is what was said to me, too ethnic, and then on the opposite thing, been told that you're not ethnic enough. Whereas if they're like wanting to have that tick box, they want to have someone who's really obviously Indian, so it can be like, we've ticked the box.
I just despair.
It's pretty painful, isn't it? But there's definitely some people doing some fab work.
Let's play a final game. Let's
do
play,
it.
before we do advice, let's do rituals. So, Sophie, do you have any particular rituals or superstitions at all with auditions before and after?
Nothing majorly, nothing like, lucky socks or anything. I don't have anything like that. But like I said before, I did really get into a good routine of going to a coffee shop nearby, sitting down, have a little cup of tea, get the script back out, go back over it, just to sort of calm your nerves a little bit. So that kind of thing. But no, nothing that's too sort of limiting. Because my personality is that if I started something, I probably would keep doing it. So
you have to text me.
Yeah. Are you in for this?
Who do you tell?
When I first graduated, always used to tell. I mean, I live with my boyfriend, so soon to be. Oh my god, I actually literally cannot say the word husband. Blah. It sounds like I feel like really grown up to be a wife. Oh my god.
Oh gosh, wifey.
I know, yeah. But yeah, so generally, I guess tell him, probably also because I'd be like, I'm off to London today. And I used to always tell my mum, but I've stopped doing that as much. I mean, I generally do tell my mum, but probably stopped that a bit more. So mostly just my boyfriend, just purely because I like to think of it as it's just a job like everybody else's job. I know it's exciting and like it can get really excited where you're like, oh my god, I'm in for this. But actually, if you try and treat it like, my boyfriend doesn't tell me every time he's got a meeting, it's that common, like it is that regular and whatever. So if you try and treat it that way, then maybe it puts less pressure on yourself rather than build up, I might have told 10 people. So then you have to tell 10 people that you've not got it.
Yeah,
as
definitely.
well.
Yeah.
So I've probably found myself telling less people or telling them less excitedly. They're like, you'll never guess that I'm in.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean? Because it is exciting and you do kind of find yourself being like, you know, dreaming away. But yeah, try and be a bit more practical about it, sort of thing.
I got in the habit of telling my students what I was in for. And I was
really
like,
on nowadays.
oh my God, why did I start doing that? Then you've got to be like, I didn't get it. And it's like, and it's not because I'm rubbish.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think if it's to people who know the industry and know that, like, so I had this stat that it was the average is 25 auditions per job that you get. That's like the average working actor. And to be honest, I think I am.
Wow, 25 per job.
Yeah, per one that you get.
So for every job you get, you've done 25 auditions.
That you didn't get. Yeah, and that's like the average working actor. So I'm sure there's a lot more that are more than that. I think that's straight. That was like a quote of like straight actors, not musical theatre, but still, it's that kind of idea, isn't it? That there are so many more that you didn't get.
Yeah.
But that's part of it, and it's you learn something from each one, I think.
Definitely. What about a trick, Sophie? Have you got any tricks that you whack out at an audition?
I do a really good hair flick.
I love you for that. Mine's a strong arm. A hair flick.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and maybe if you're lucky, right, if I've got my hair up in a bobble, I might even whip the bobble out.
You spoil me.
Everyone else is doing like acro around me.
No, I love that.
I even call it acro still. I don't know.
I did an audition and I had to do a full-on, what's it called, cheerleading, and we had to learn this clap sequence to the side and to the back and to the front and to the side. Honestly, it was the most stressful audition. I actually went with curly hair and came out with just like a frisbee in my hair. I was so out of my depth, to the point where, and I don't mind saying this, but to the point where we got split up into groups, we had to perform, and then they actually called out the people that had done really well, and then they said, and these people, they had an absolute shit show and we want them to do it again. And I didn't even make that list.
Oh, the maybe list.
I didn't even make the shit show. I didn't even make that list. So there was only me and like 2 other people, and we had to leave.
You just pack your bags and go. Yeah, sometimes
sprinted. I was used.
Have you ever done a during audition? Just pick your bag up and go. I've seen people do that, as in like
as your own choice, or you've been cut.
No, out of your own choice, just being like, I can picture a few times broken. Yes. And what was I in for? Like flash dance, the first move. And everyone, you know, you talk to people beforehand, so they're like, yeah, I'm mainly an actor, like, oh, I should be in the move at call, whatever. Oh, yeah, no. And then it was sort of and then the first move was jump into box splits. And it was like 9 a.m.
Oh my God.
I was like, and literally, I'd say at least 2 or 3 girls just sort of went like this, like sort of just like gestured to the panel and just picked their bags up and left. And I feel like, I mean, I wouldn't do that, and I haven't done that because I wouldn't be confident enough really to do that. But there's some confidence in just owning.
Yeah, I did that once. I did that once, but I was really young, and I won't name the drama school, but I went to a drama school audition, and I walked in and I had tights on and a dress on. And bearing in mind I was 17, you know, young. And the guy that was running the audition was like, you need to take your tights off. And I was like, I don't really want to. And he was like, no, that's not like that composition. Like, you need to take your tights off. And I was thinking, like, it's not the dance round. I've got clothes for my dance round. And I was like, I just put my split sole jazz shoes on. And he was like, no, I need you to take your tights off. And I was just like absolutely freaked out.
Weird.
Yeah, I was absolutely freaked out. I was just not comfortable. I had a little dress on with tights or leggings, but I just didn't feel comfortable to be running around a room in a tiny skirt, like at 17. And he made me feel so awkward. And he was like, just take them off now. And I was like, no. I said, I'll go to the toilet. And I literally went to the toilet. My mum was waiting for me because I was under 18. I was like, we're going. And we literally, I couldn't get out of there fast enough.
And like, as if that was a reflection of your acting talent.
So I left.
Yeah, fair
Play. I don't think I'd do it now, but 17 me?
Yeah.
17-year-old me was far more confident.
Yeah.
Do you have any, obviously I know that we share a love for Pete Faint and his warm-ups. What a guy. Thought it was a woman. Thought the woman doing the demonstration was Pete.
Yes, yeah.
Have you ventured
Great.
into Mike Horth? Mike Horth?
Oh, I haven't. Is that Spotify?
Heat Faint does a collaboration. Ave Maria.
No way.
Yeah,
Do
Ave
you know,
Maria.
I think that's probably just highlights to me that I need to sort of rejig my warm-up playlist.
Honestly, there's a volume 2 and the Spotify playlist is red. You got Vows 1, Vows 2, Vows 3. Honestly.
I'm getting
on
literally
it.
the first thing I do tomorrow. I'm going to get on that.
My most played song of last year was Foul Sounds, Pete Faint.
Hey, it's so funky.
Honestly, everybody loves it.
Like, honestly, what a banger though. It's got such a beat behind it.
Have you got any vocal warm-ups that you stick to for an audition, or are you sort of like dabble in a few just before an audition, or do you warm up at all?
I mean, I do warm up. This is probably why you've written down vocal straws. Yes, this one. So last year I had to have a camera down, my one of those old things. And actually nothing was really wrong, but just like vocally tired a bit. I think it just happens with age. But they basically said to me to do some of these. They're more for speech therapy, but obviously that then transfers through. And I think, to be honest, it was teaching on Zoom, overcompensating, especially teaching dance. It's like 5, 6, 7, 8, just screaming all the time over for music. The speech therapist said that most of his clients are teachers, as in, you know, primary school teachers or whatever. It's just so common to tire your voice out, basically. But yeah, they do a lot of warm-ups through a straw, and so it's all about airflow and not like pushing too hard.
Have you got a go-to song? Last question.
I often sing Fields of Gold, Eva Cassidy.
Beautiful.
Just as a nice. And then I've been, during lockdown, trying to change it up a little bit. And I love, do you know The Prom?
Oh, yes.
The Prom.
Yes.
I do love it. And I like, so there's one song, Alyssa Green, and that I've not actually done yet in audition, but like trialing out a few, trying to change it up a little bit, because I feel like just rotate the same songs round and round. So changing it up for myself more than anything.
Sophie, thank you so much for your time today. Before you go,
Dream.
Could you just give me a piece of Miss Kandola's advice that you can pass on to us before you go?
For auditions, for life.
Yeah, for audition and general life. For general life, please. Any cleaning tips?
Yeah. I think I've said this before, but it's like easier said than done. But really, it's got to be to not compare yourself. Even though I still am working on that myself, but I know that that's you. If you walk into the audition room and you can psych yourself out in the first 30 seconds by looking around at everyone and think, oh, she's skinnier than me, she's stretching, she's more flexible than me, and you've just lost it. You've lost the game before you even start. So just know that you're there for a reason. You've got your own things going on, and yeah, just try and not compare yourself.
That's a huge one. Comparison. Is it comparison is the thief of joy?
I've never heard it, but I'm going to believe it.
Let me look.
Comparison killed the cat.
Dead. Comparison is the thief. Yes.
Yes. Well done.
I'm getting it tattooed on my head. Comparison is the thief of joy.
I mean, it's true.
So true.
But yeah, just stay in your lane. Yeah, you do you, and it'll be right for someone.
Amazing. It was so lovely to see you, Sophie. If you could just, I really enjoy saying your name, Sophie. If you could just please say my outro, which you're in the outro anyway, and you have a lovely voice. I do say to Sophie all the time, I could listen to her talk all day. A Sophie voice note is just wonderful.
Sometimes just send an ASMR voice note.
Please, can you just continually talk to me in your lovely ASMR voice for my whole life? That would be great.
Like the sound, like the narrator of
my internal monologue is voiced by Sophie. If you could please just say thanks, that's all for today. That would be amazing. Thank you again for recording this for the second time. You'll be hearing the second version, everybody, and Sophie. This was even better than before. So I don't know what you were doing last time, but this was great.
I've been working on it.
That's why we had to re-record. I'm joking. Love working with you in Star Wars, babe. If you could just say thanks, that's all for today, that'd be great.
Thanks. That's all for today.
Bottle up that voice and sell it for millions. Thank you, Sophie.